From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment News. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out.
When you decided to pitch that show, I remember a little while back when I think I was speaking with Kyle, and I think I was talking with you, and you said, "Hey, we got something in the works." How do you pitch a show like that isn't a standard idea that's maybe a little outside of what people are thinking, and then how do you kind of make it from just a base idea into something that people are buying into? Like you're like, yeah, we want to be a part of this. Like I know that's your magic, but maybe a little of that you can rub off on us.
Well, I mean, the fact is, the guy who brought it to me and brought it to my attention, someone I've been working with the Word Records for 25 years.
That's helpful.
And an A&R director, and we've done, I don't know how many videos together. And he just came to me and said, "This is what I want to do. Can you make it happen?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Then thinking to myself, huh?
Yeah, like what the heck did I sign up for? And how do I do this?
Yeah, what did it say? An Amish musical? I mean,
know.
who's ever heard of such a thing?
And how do you do a TV special with no electricity?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, you got a bunch of donkeys out there. but I mean, the funny thing is, at the end of the play, we're going to have a horse and buggy come across the stage.
Beautiful.
So
Great.
Why not? But I mean, you just figure out logistics. You bring in a bunch of the best, the best, and it's going to be, it's going to be wonderful. And so, who knows who's going to air it? There's several major networks that are talking about it, and they want to do a bunch more.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be the first.
That's great.
Yeah.
So of all the projects that you've done, how many would you say were ones that you really felt like they mattered? Like this project was something you were proud of and felt like this one mattered to me. What would you say of how many of your projects, what percentage would you say was something that really touched your heart while you were working on it? And what are some of your favorite?
Well, I mean, people ask me that, and I have to say Secret Ambition.
Okay.
I mean, the whole point of making that music video was to say, okay, show it to your friend and then say, "Are you ready to pray?" Because, this is what Jesus did, and this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. You don't have to explain all this doctrine. You don't have to go through scripture and all that. You just watch what Jesus did.
Yeah.
And then you accept it. If you believe it and accept it, then pray and receive. I mean, and that's what's happened. I don't know how many times. I mean, millions of times. It showed on Soviet TV when Tom Newman was over there with Toymaker's Dream. They did a tour, and they played that video, and their whole TV thing jammed up so bad they couldn't even get anyone through. I mean, just because they were like, "What is this?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?" Because they didn't know who Jesus was.
Right.
But, to me, that was the ultimate video. I mean, then of course there's all those Carmen videos, Satan or Witch's Invitation and all that about battling the devil and fighting over in Wales, great God. But still, it all comes down to or comes down to Michael W. Smith's video. And you know what? That video didn't even win a Dove. I mean, which kind of tipped me off a little bit, but that's fine. I know that there's a lot.
So there's probably a greater reward for that coming for you.
Well, over the years, Michael W. and I, no matter where I was working in radio or when I was in TV, and then later at Dave Ramsey, we'd always run into each other. But I remember going to a couple of his concerts and seeing your video behind him on the big screen. When he was singing it. It was so well shot and it was so powerful in the live setting. It was just amazing. That was always just such a great video.
And the funny thing is that was never going to be a single. That was never going to be a release. It was just going to be another song on that record until I decided to make that a video when I worked for Willie George.
Okay.
And I decided to make that a video. And all of a sudden it became something Michael couldn't ignore anymore.
Right.
And to this day, he can't.
Yeah.
He still plays it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
So
and thankfully,
another little bit of a moderately personal question in terms of we're talking about in an industry that's so demanding and requires tremendous amounts of time. You're away from home a lot. There's a lot of stress that's involved in, when payments are going to come. How do you balance kind of that work life? And you guys have been, you and your beautiful wife have been married, together quite some time. Yes.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you guys find a way just to make it work in the industry? Like, what was it that you two did in terms of, how'd you make it work? Because
Well,
you hear a lot of disaster stories, and I want the
Mm-hmm.
success ones.
Well, I mean, I have become very much, I hate to say a thug, but I mean, I'll tell my client, I'll get started when you send me the deposit.
Yeah.
And until I get the deposit, I won't get started. And they want to get started. So, you have to be a little tough about it.
Yeah.
And so if I don't get paid, then work stops.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just business. It's not
Yep.
being a hard guy. It's just being. This is how your bank's not going to keep you in your house if you don't pay your mortgage.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I've got to pay crew. I've got to pay locations. I got to pay all these things. So, I mean, so we balance all that, and then of course I put money away, and so when someone runs into hard times, I have a little something to pull on. But still, I do not finance projects.
Yep.
A lot of people think, well, it's a ministry. You should be able to do that. Well, no, you should. This is your idea. This is your song. You should be able to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not, once again, I'm not being a hard guy. That's just pure business,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's one of the tricks is disciplining yourself. If you're in this industry, sometimes when it's good, it's really, really good. And it's
yeah,
easy to go out and get the greatest cool camera, all this stuff when that money hits. But then, if that project dries up or it falls out or you don't know
Right.
what's going to happen exactly, then
Yeah.
it's good to have set aside something so that you have a little bit of cushion. We worked at Dave Ramsey for a number of years, and, he was always like have a 3 to 5 months emergency fund for the amount of, in
Right.
case something happens in your bills, especially in this industry. I think it's a great idea to start saving a little bit aside, so that maybe it's not a 5 months, maybe it's a month or
Right.
something
Yeah.
like this, so that you're not stuck. Because once the moment you hit, especially as an independent contractor, and you start getting those fees and fines, this late payment, you didn't pay this contractor, this stuff, those start building, you end up,
Right.
you can get really hurt during that time and burn. So I think it's
Yeah.
important when it's
I
good,
agree.
set aside some of that so that
Oh,
you're ready
you know
when
it.
it's, yeah.
And
And
my
then,
my wife and I still do, Dave. I mean, we do a check every month, and we write for cash, and we
yep.
split it. And when hers is gone, she's done, and when mine's gone, I'm done.
Yeah,
And
no,
we
when hers is gone, there's always yours.
yeah, oh, well, it's true. But
Let's
I
be
mean,
honest.
we followed Dave for years. I mean,
Yeah.
we love Dave. I'm
Yeah.
mad that Dave hired Salvoson, but because he was supposed to go up to Shipshawana. But hey, great gig for him. Paul Salvo, you know him?
No, I don't.
Yeah, Paul Salvoson. Yeah, he's one of the best audio guys in the industry. He was going to be my audio guy to go up to Shipshawana to do all the audio for that. And then Dave
Ah.
hired him to run all the audio studios there at his facility. I mean, he's like VP of audio. So,
Yeah, there's a lot now. I was just there the other day touring the new facility, and they've got like two regular news TVs, I mean radio studios, and then they have like
yeah,
10 podcast studios, and then they're all going out all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
and then they have their whole center where they're like the whole comm center where they do the presentations, and now they're building a new massive facility that's entirely for presentation, stage stuff, all kinds of things. So
yeah. So I was like, okay,
it's gonna
Salvo,
be a busy gig.
I'll let this one slide. Okay, so
Well,
it is Dave.
speak about that. In this business, the only regular thing you can count on is irregular income.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, talk about how
You're right.
what you've seen and how has that helped you as far as being disciplined and knowing how to set aside money and not operating beyond your means, because I think that can be the huge difference between success and failure of someone in this business, and
Oh,
not
sure,
not
yeah.
a lot of people do that.
Well, I mean, I try to manage my money. I try to be careful with what we spend. And then my wife works as a freelance interior designer. She
Okay.
graduated from O'More out of Franklin and got a degree. And she's got a great job down here with a interior design store. And she makes really good money. So, I'm pretty much a kept man. Is that, so,
Nice. That's all you got to do, guys. Anyone who's
yeah, I mean,
listening,
That's
just
right.
find a girl
yeah,
who makes a bunch of money.
that's the point. Yeah, that's what you need to do.
Easy.
So
Wow. Okay. There he goes. He's try Steve's one-step plan. Steven's
Yeah.
one-step plan for success. Much easier than everyone else's.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I know.
it's not complicated at all.
Yeah. He has a very, most people have a book. He has a one-page brochure.
Here's
I
my
do have a book.
It's
though, by
only
the
one
way.
page.
I do want to mention
Right.
that.
What's your book?
My book is being written right now.
Okay.
I've written 19 hours of interviews.
Wow.
I'm telling my story. I've had several people tell me I need to tell my story, and I'm like, who cares? Who cares about my story? Well, I mean, all these people start saying, well, a lot of people will.
Yeah.
And so I got this guy who's a major author who stepped in. He said, I'll write your book, and I've got a guy who will market it for you.
Wow.
And he said, we'll get it out there. So he's working on the first 3 chapters, and he's going to do the treatments for the other chapters, and they're going to market it to major book labels.
Okay.
And so, I've got all the stories about what I've done in my life, what's happened with my daughter, with my dad, with everything. And it's all going to be in that book. So, we'll see. We'll see what it comes out. If I sell 5 or 7, I don't know.
Well, I just want to know how many chapters are dedicated to me.
Well, I think 13.
Is that all? Why
That's
so
all.
few? I guess it's just a short book.
I just started making up a bunch of stuff.
How do you, speaking of that, and being in this industry and creative and having to come up with ideas, and you mentioned the tragedy with your daughter, and we were all praying for your family and everything during. I mean, we all remember that kind of rocked the creative community in Nashville.
Yeah, big time.
How do you
and Jimmy Patterson too for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How do you continue going on and creating when something like that hits your life? Because you've got obligations too, and you've got projects, and something just life shattering happens.
Well, I got just frozen in place for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I got mad at God. I didn't want to speak to him. I didn't want to do. I mean, I just got angry.
Yeah.
And for probably about 6 months, I did nothing.
Okay.
Just nothing except be mad. And I'll tell you a little quick clip from my book. My daughter was really big into what's her name? It's a story by I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay.
That's
but
okay.
It's Tim Burton. The something before Christmas.
Oh, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
She loved that book, and she loved the soundtrack, and she loved everything about that. She just loved everything about Disney. She played the French horn. She was all about music, and so she was driving home from work, and in Alabama, and it was snowing and it was icing, and some idiot was driving too fast on the other side of the lane, and he lost control of his pickup truck, 150, and crossed the lane and hit her head on, and so she ended up in the hospital and by the time I got there, she was brain dead. And so we just sat there and we prayed, and we had everyone and her dog pray of just, dear God, please heal her, please bring her back. She can live. She's not going to die, Lord. We know she can live. And, we're there for 5 days. And then, finally the doctor came and he said, I'm sorry, her body's starting to deteriorate. You're going to have to pull the plug. And so, that was the worst thing in the world. So I just grabbed my family, we grabbed hands and we prayed over her and sent her back to heaven and said, thank you, God, for giving her to me for as long as you did, and all this. And And then so I went home very angry. Like,
Yeah.
why, God, did you let this happen? What was the deal? That she was only 24 years old. She just graduated college. She's going to get ready to get engaged. And I mean, there's just everything was just starting to break out. And we had the funeral at Williamson County Funeral Home down in Franklin, if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And after the funeral home, we went to this place called Mickey Ruse, which was a big, big. They made a lot of brisket and all that kind of stuff. And Mickey was a great friend of mine. And we all we had about 800 people showed up to the funeral. I mean, it was crazy. And we had Phil Kagi and Kenny Marks and all these people. And they did all these songs and music, and we had speakers, and it's like crazy. But then at Mickey Ruse, we all gathered and ate free. And Mickey fed us all to the best brisket you can ever eat.
Amazing.
And this woman walks in the door wearing the Nightmare Before Christmas shirt, long sleeve shirt. And Gentry walks up to her, my wife, and says, "Were you at Emily's funeral?" And she said, "No, dear." She said, "It's a sign." And she says, "A sign for what?" And she just looked at her and turned and walked away.
What?
What?
Yeah. And then Gentry came to me. She said, "I want you to meet this lady. She just said she's here for a sign for Emily." I said, "Okay." So I went with her to meet this woman, and she was gone. Who knows where she went? She might have been Angel or what. And so, I thought that was kind of bizarre, but I mean, I'm still pretty much in a state of shock. Well, fast forward about 6 months, and I'm standing in the shower, and I just read a book by Steve Berger from Grace Chapel, if you know Steve. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a great, great guy.
He went through a similar
He went through
issue.
it. He
Yeah.
reached out to me, him and his wife, and ministered to us in a big way. And he gave me this book called The God Sign. He said, "I want you to read this." And I said, "Okay." So I did. And it's about how God gives you signs that things are okay. And, even though you don't see him, you don't talk to him, you don't, whatever, they're okay. And so I read the book, and I was like, okay, well, I get it. I understand that. And I'm standing in the shower the next day, and I just started crying. Said, "God, give me a sign. I want a sign she's okay." And he goes, "What more do I need to give you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What do you think that girl was? You think I just sent her into that restaurant with that shirt for no purpose?" And I was like, "Really?" And it slapped me across the face like nothing I could imagine. It's like, wow, that was a God sign? He said, "Yes." And I just bawled my eyes out. She's okay. Because, she's my 24-year-old daughter that I had no idea where she was, who was taking care of her, what was happening to her. It scared me. A father, you can't deal with that. But yet God sent that to me. And then he confirmed it through that book from Steve Berger. So, I ask, whenever I talk to people who lose their I mean, there's several stories in that book that will encourage you that the fact is that God is taking care of your loved ones, and they're not gone, So that's
Amazing.
how you deal with something like that, when
Wow.
God speaks to you directly. So, and that's going to be a whole chapter in my book, the whole story.
Yeah, and I found out, like, whenever I went through some of the toughest times in my life, it's painful, but so funny. Maybe this is just me. I don't know if you guys have done this, but I remember one time I had something horrific happen. I'd come home that night. My knees had buckled. I'm weeping on the ground and I'm crying. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, this would be a great shot. I was like, okay, the guy's laying on the ground. Like the camera pushes up the stairs. He's crying his eyes out.
Yeah, do reflective lighting from the
right. I'm like, he does this to the sky. No. And I'm sitting there picturing this entire scene from my life as a third person perspective. I'm like, that's good. And I got up and I wrote it down like, okay, that's good stuff,
I know that's what our curse is. We live real harsh life experiences, but then we figure out how to light it and from what angles we'd shoot it. You know, I mean,
Exactly.
it's like, okay, come on, cut me a break, you know?
Oh yeah, I've had times where I've have somebody screaming at me and they're yelling or something, and literally all of a sudden like their screaming shifts away, and I'm like, okay, the dude's actually really mad right now, and I'm sitting here picturing, okay, what would her reaction be? I was like, so then I'm in this character, I'm like, that's terrible, you seem angry, you know, I'm so mad at you. I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I had it happen
That's the
several
world
times.
That's the world we live in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but your
very cool.
experiences, whether it's in video or voiceover, I mean, those do carry over into you know your everyday job.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many scenarios I've been in or people I've met that make their way either emotionally or the sound of their voice into a project I'm recording, and it's it's funny how life informs that.
I
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
You're
who
right.
makes the best stories? I think some people who are the oldest people, the oldest directors, have made the most informative story, like the ones I connect with the most emotionally, because they've experienced it all. So all of their characters' reactions are so much deeper. It's like, it's not as superficial. It's just a deeper character. And that's why I know I mentioned it last time, but for me, Top Gun was this type of story. Like,
Oh yeah.
I love the original Top Gun, but this second one it hit me so much deeper because you have Tom himself, who has lived a full life. And
Right.
his character is informed by the life that he lived and what he felt. And I felt it in his character. It's my favorite performance he's ever done. I just
Yeah,
loved it.
I agree with you. It was great.
Yeah,
Francis Ford Coppola is still my favorite director, but
yes, I mean, come on.
and I was so sad to hear about James Caan this week
Oh yeah,
because I thought he was phenomenal. You know,
was.
playing Sonny. That was sad, but you know, we're losing a lot of the greats.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, you know, you might have watched the film, you know, I watched Top Gun not that long ago, the original, and you can see the movies and they still feel in your mind that that's how, you know, they're that age.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when they pass, it's like, wait, he's too young to die. Like, no, he's actually 87 years old. Like, it's, you know, it's time.
Yeah.
For these different characters. You don't realize it because you're captured forever in the story that we remember.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. Before we had books, and you know, when you're reading books, each one of us has an idea of a character in our mind, of like Sherlock Holmes or of Gandalf, or before the movies come, you have these people who stay with you and they remain forever that character and that age and that stage. And I can recall them instantly, and I imagine what it's like for them. And so when I recall characters, when you move to film, these people are real. They really existed, and they're not just the character that you see. They, you know, there's a life behind it. And even though Tom Cruise is memorialized in Top Gun for me, the original one, that character, I can picture it, I can recall it, I can feel it. It's like he's moved on, and you know, he's older now, but that character's still alive for me. So there's a weird kind of thing that happens when film people pass away. It's like, no, like that character didn't pass away. That character is right here. He's flying the ship. He's Maverick. You know, he didn't pass away. It's not possible.
I know. Just like Paulie from Sopranos. He passed away this week too. It's like,
really?
what?
This week?
Oh wow,
This
I didn't.
week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not catch that either. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Paulie was amazing.
Yeah.
He was,
Yeah, and
you know,
they create a moment that stays with you forever, and a character that stays with you. And when that person's gone, but their character still stays, there's the discrepancy. Like your brain's like cannot compute.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It just leaves you full. It's interesting because, you know, you hear about people, a politician passes. It's like, okay, you know, it's sad because people pass, but why? When those characters and actors that we grew up knowing and loving that played our favorite characters, when they pass, it's something else happens. It's different.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
What's the you know, with all your years of experience, you know, and currently working on several, you know, like great projects, like you mentioned, what would you say to an up and coming director, producer, director of photography, any of these guys? What piece of advice would you give them as far as launching their career and starting their career and being successful?
I would tell them not to be too big to do anything. I mean, if someone asks them to go get coffee, go get the coffee. If someone says you need to go carry that sandbag and set it on that light stand, Go do it. Don't go, well, I got my degree. Who cares? You need to learn how to do the job. I learned how to do everybody's job on the set before I became a director. I learned how to be an audio man. I learned how to be a lighting guy. I learned to run camera. I learned how to get coffee for the director. I mean, I learned all those things before I got the opportunity to be an AD and then actually become a switcher and a live director. But it's because eventually I learned all those positions. And there's a guy who I've sent to Nashville. He's going to Nashville Film Institute right now from Sarasota. And he's staying with a friend of mine there. And, you know, the one thing he asked me that same question, I told him that. And he has told me that's the biggest piece of advice he's ever taken. He's learned how to do almost every job. He's doing a music video this Friday. And he says, I pretty much know how to do every job on the set by now. And he says, and I thank you for making me learn that.
Yeah. Does he know how to do puppet fabrication? Because that would be a...
We've got a guy, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's the next step. Yeah, that's the natural.
I learned how to do I did the puppet fabrication. I did the seamstress work. I did the wardrobe design and costumes. You know. Yeah, I think it's funny because sometimes on my sets, I've been on a couple of sets where I was working and I started rolling cable. I started doing something, hauling things. And I had one guy who was like, he starts kind of yelling at me about something. And another one of my friends, the DP of the show, comes up and he goes, that's the director you're yelling at. Because I'm doing something else that, you know, before I was working on rolling something else. So I agree with that. I think you to me, the point is to get the project done. Right. And sometimes I understand the roles are there and they're necessary to maintain the ideas and to be able to pass down so you can get certain things done on time. But at the same time, to just be like, no, I'm not going to do that, because I've seen somebody like, I'm not rolling that. It's not my job. I'm like, your job is to help finish the production, in my mind, whatever it takes to make the production finish on time and be the best that it can be. That's the job. And your category at the moment is this. But if there's something that needs to be finished and there's not enough people to do it, that in my mind, that's like, and maybe that's just a stat. Like I noticed in Nashville, here in LA, it's like, no, that's like, even unions are like, no, you can't do that. You can't plug this cable in. You can't move that lunchbox. You can't do these things, you know? And then, and I'm like, I'm so Nashville when it comes to like,
because we're
whatever it takes to get the job done.
We're not union,
Yeah, and I think it's just it. And we don't have enough. When you don't have enough people, too, like I don't have my crew, I might have to do with a film with 20 people what they did with 145 people. And so it's just like everyone is doing whatever it takes to get it done.
Just jump in and work. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't say that. I just do it. Like I see it. And I've had people here, no, don't. You don't have to touch that. I'm like, what do you mean? Does it need to be done? Yeah. Do you have enough people to do it right now? They're like, no, but you know, you're the director. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It needs to get in the truck. And I'm done with my part right now. Like I can help you so we can go home.
If you touch it, will electrocute you or you die? Maybe not. Okay.
Yeah. Then they might. I'm not going to go around, and if the gaffer, I leave the gaffer pretty much alone, and if it's his stuff, I don't touch it.
Unless he's standing in some water, I'll stay away from it.
The gaffer's like, here, hold this paddle and this one. Exactly. What's this going to do? Awesome.
Oh, man.
Man, so thank you so much. I apologize for being late. I apologize for the delay, but I'm so excited that you came on our show and you just shared your stories with us and your ideas. It's been a sheer blessing having you. And every time I know that we're together, I always learn something new.
Yeah, we always have a good time together.
Yeah,
Jason.
Mostly about what not to do, but I do learn something.
This is true.
I always learn from you, Stephen. Always.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I can still teach somebody.
Yeah, I always tell my dad that. Dad, I'm just so thankful that you made so many mistakes so that I can learn from you and not have to do it myself.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on.
Thank you so much.
I would love to see the final version when you're done with it. And, you know, I'll share it with 2 or 3 people.
Yeah,
Sounds
we'll definitely
great.
send you out the link, and we'll be sharing on social on all the socials. So yeah,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll
Great.
probably have a camera guy show up. We're going to need a special morning dance from you. Right when you first wake up is generally gives us the most entertaining
that's
video.
usually when I get them. That's when I get them.
Good,
When
perfect.
I come out of bed, I get a praise dance.
Yay.
Perfect. Good.
I cut one. Yeah, I'm
You
good.
like this? I'm still alive. I'm still alive. Great. Good. Well, we look forward to it. We'll just make sure we bring some really dark sunglasses so we don't have to see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's dark here now, so
Notice
Yeah, it is.
that.
It was light when we started, and now it's dark.
I know.
I thought it was some
Exactly.
special lighting technique that you did. You're
Yeah,
like,
well-
watch what I can do.
Well, the 10K HMI back here, the generator ran out of fuel.
Yeah, go fill it
The
up for
mood
the
has
next
changed.
interview you do next.
Entertainment
Yeah,
news
exactly.
after dark.
After dark, dark. For a very special edition.
Of entertainment news.
In a world.
Oh, he's doing a different kind of in a world where vampires are.
Don LaFontaine. Yep.
All right, man.
All right.
Love you guys.
All
Yes,
right, you too,
appreciate
man.
you. Have
All
a good
right.
night. Thanks.
Take
We'll
care.
talk soon.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. You
I
know,
love
it's
Stephen.
yeah, me too. And it's really cool seeing somebody who's been a part of, who has been doing it for so long, consistently.
Yeah.
For years and years and years, through the ups, the downs. Like I was saying, in the 90s when it turned, like there was a lot of money that was going into music videos, and come the turn of 2000, a lot of that it dried up. The budgets disappeared. Even the money for TV shows, like
Right.
CMT shows, it went so little that you had to do like small 4 or 5 person crews, and you were lucky if you got a 5-person crew. So and then going
Exactly.
back up again, and how do you seeing him always converting that, pushing new ideas, creating new shows, using relationships that he has to bring new and exciting things to the forefront. And in Nashville, you've got 2 types of industry. You got your country music and you have Christian music, and those grew
right.
simultaneously together. And
They did.
And Stephen's focus was predominantly in Christian music, and
But he did a lot with CMT as well.
But he did a lot with
Yeah.
CMT, and he did a lot with GAC, and so.
Right.
In that market, it's just everyone knows each other, and they're all creating together, and they're writing. And I think it's pretty exciting to see somebody who's found a work that matters to him, and something that feels like, if you're going to do this craft, find a part of it that really resonates with who you are. It resonates at the core of who you are and why you do what you do. And it's really exciting to see. That's what Stephen had found, and he stuck with it, and it got him through everything, through the hardest times, through that time when his daughter passed. I'll never forget. I know where I was. We were working on a project together when it happened, and it was just, shocking. And but seeing him rise above that and press on, it's just, he's been an inspiration and a source of learning. I learned so much on sets working with him. So.
It was something. And the fact that, we've talked about this before, is like creating your opportunities. There was a void there, and those music videos weren't being done. And we talked earlier before you got on the camera, and he basically made his niche. He started doing some of these little music videos in a show that he produced that someone told him probably wouldn't even make it.
And then boom.
And boom, all these other artists started seeing these music videos and wanted him to do more music videos. So he created his opportunity. So it's very important.
Yeah, and I think there's always something that's interesting about him. He's always been true to his character. So the person that he is,
Right.
that's how he is, that's who he is. It's on camera, off camera. What you see is what you get. And that translated into the way that he created his projects, how he ran his set, what he's willing to do. That attitude of seeing him, whatever it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
I know that we've done some shoots in different countries, and it's literally just been him holding the camera, sweating to death. And even though he'd just come off of a massive multi-million-dollar project, he'll be on that project running through the Africa and the back thing, just holding the camera, sweating, backpack, everything. You would not know that fella had just directed some massive productions.
Right.
And he just doesn't care. It's just about whatever it takes to tell the story. And he's literally telling the truth. That attitude, I love working with people like that. I want to find people who love the job like that, and they're willing to do. It's like you're serving the story, and it goes back to sacrifice, passion, paseo,
Yep.
to suffer for the craft.
Townsend, who we talked to last week, Townsend Coleman, the same kind of individual that is always thankful for being on the projects, and is never too big for any project that he's on. Just a salt of the earth and true to yourself and true to other people.
Well, you never really know who who's going to watch that project, or you never really know who they're going to talk to about. So-and-so was just doing this. I saw them on the project. They work. I think they'd be fantastic for this particular thing. You don't know.
Right.
So number one, you never know who you're going to meet. Number two, there's always bridges that you can burn. Like if you torch people bridges, they're going to talk about it, and people are more apt to talk about negative stuff. Or if you go above and beyond. Now, I'm not talking about getting taken advantage of. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to take advantage of your generosity, your passion, and your kindness. So I think that's what Stephen had said when he said, "Look, I need to see the check first."
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about, because you need to be, as a good business person, as a good creative, you do have to take care of business first and foremost, because if you do not have an income, you do not have a career. You're going to have to do something else. You're going to be doing serving. You're going to be doing something else you might not want to, because you don't have any income coming in. And I think that's where he's saying, like, show me the check first. You got to have a clear goal about how you want to bring income in, how you're going to spend that income, and how you're going to invest in the next pieces. So a lot of times, especially we creatives, we get excited. We're caught up on one project while we're working. We are not doing any sales. We're not doing any pitching. So that's one thing that really develops this like roller coaster where it's really good, you're getting paid, and then it's not, and then you're good. So keep being mindful of that and always creating opportunities.
Also, when you can, I mean, getting a deposit, because I know people that have worked and the companies are good for the money, but especially during the pandemic, have been really slow to pay. So if you can work out getting, a portion up front, that's always a good thing to do, because it gets the client more involved in the process as well.
Yeah, and for me, I like to do the entire cost of the production itself up front. That includes getting me paid. That includes my crew, my rentals, my insurance, all of the stuff that you need. So post-production, on the post end, if I'm doing a lot of the post-production work, I'm working with others, you don't have a tremendous amount of outgoing invoices you have to pay immediately. Camera rental you have to pay, the food, the props, the set designer, all of that stuff's got to get paid right away.
Those people aren't waiting.
No, they're not waiting.
Bam,
yeah. So they're getting paid pretty quick. And I think for post-production, why I like to do it is because the skin is in the game. They put it in there. We've done the production. They've seen the stuff in the can. So they're excited about the post-production. One thing you have control over in post-production is you get to choose when you send the delivery. So you can hold the asset until it's time to deliver. So once they've seen that final, you watermark the thing or you put it up on Frame.io. They see it, they approve it, they like it, and you can wait and say, fantastic. Once you've sent over, once we receive the last payment, I'll release the video. Exactly. So you have a little bit of leverage. On the front end, they are taking a risk on you because they might not know you. And they're saying, I'm spending, 55, 70, 100 grand on this video. I've seen some of your past stuff, but I don't know you. We've never worked together. That way, there's a little bit of skin in the game. When they put that money up front, you're putting investment on the back end, and they're putting the investment on the front end. You need to deliver. Once they see that and you can establish that relationship, one of the last projects I worked on was that way. We worked on the whole front part. I said, we're working on the edit. They said, we don't even need to see it. Just, we don't need to be there. We trust you. We developed that part by doing the delivery that we did during the production itself. But I also paid everyone on time, and everyone got what they needed. And so I just think it's the best way to operate. And during that time, as a director and a company owner, I'm also looking for new opportunities. So I'm continually looking for what Steve said, creating opportunities and making them happen by almost sheer force and sheer will. And expressing that, building relationships, meeting people. And if you need to hire somebody to do some post-production, you're like, I need this money. Which is more important, hiring the person to do post-production or getting those next gigs coming in? It's a balancing act. It's a hard part to follow, but Stephen's a really good example. If you've not seen his body of work, whether you're a Christian or not, or you're into Christian music or country, it doesn't matter. It's still the creative energy and the passion behind who he is and the things that he's been able to create in his time as a director are nothing short of inspirational.
Really groundbreaking material.
Yeah, really groundbreaking. Yeah. And I think it rippled over, and you see a lot of the things he did in his music video. You'll see them from the 90s and the 2000s, and even today they'll use some of the techniques that he created. So take a chance to explore his body of work. We're going to have some of it on here and some links to some of it during the show. So please enjoy those as much as we have. And a lot of them we helped make. Yeah. So.
And like and subscribe.
Seriously though, Cam, how did you and I not meet?
I have no idea.
How did we not meet?
Hundreds of people that you knew.
Hundreds,
literally hundreds.
Yeah. And like, you worked with Steven. I mean, I worked
Yeah.
with him. We worked with everybody.
Yeah,
I never
exactly.
met you. Like, how's that
Exactly.
even possible? Maybe
Yeah.
because if we'd have met sooner, the world was not ready and it just exploded.
I guess so, but no, I talked to several people before, we worked together, and yeah, they were all, happy that, you're going to be working with me, but sad that you wouldn't be available to work on projects with them. So
Yeah. Real quick question for you. What is
Yes?
that incredible shirt that you're wearing?
this thing.
Yes, that beautiful baby blue. I think it's baby blue.
Oh, wait, gotta do
with
the
the
Picard
bright
maneuver.
gold. Yes,
Number one. Okay, there we go.
with the gorgeous gold star.
Yes, this is the Entertainment Dudes shirt, available at merch.entertainmentdudes.com. And there's two versions. There's this version, and then there's another version with
Which I'm
our
not
faces on
currently
each
wearing.
side, covering your pecs.
Yes, so if
you're
you
a
have
guy,
if you have incredible
So, yes.
chesticles and you don't want to show those off to the world just yet, cover your chesticles with our beautiful
with our
faces.
faces,
Wonderful.
and make our faces 3D.
Yes.
Yes.
If you can bounce them, the better. Boom, 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 boom.
Jason, I didn't know your nose was so big.
Yes.
So, okay,
Well.
anyway. So,
Oh gosh. I just threw up a
it's
little on the
just
mic there.
cold. So,
That sounds like a great time to end this broadcast before we go to jail.
yeah.
Thanks again for joining Entertainment Dudes. I'm Jason Crossman, director dude.
I'm Cam Cornelius, the voiceover dude, and this is the show.
Entertainment Dudes.